The celestial monolith was, by all accounts, the most passive-aggressive object in the known universe. For 47 years, it had been sitting in neutral space like a cosmic middle finger, completely silent, utterly immovable, and thoroughly uninterested in anything the Galactic Council had to say. Which was really saying something, because the Galactic Council loved to talk. They had committees about forming committees. They had subcommittees to discuss the font choices for committee minutes. They once spent 3 months debating whether their official letterhead should be eggshell or cream. The monolith, however, did not care about their feelings. It was massive, roughly the size of Earth's moon, perfectly black, and shaped like someone had taken a rectangle and decided that was good enough. No markings, no lights, no convenient instruction manual etched into the surface. Just smooth, dark, impenetrable silence. And behind it, locked away like the galaxy's most frustrating prize, lay the Kepler Reach, a region of space so rich in rare minerals and exotic matter that whoever controlled access would effectively control galactic trade for the next 1,000 years. Naturally, everyone wanted in, and naturally, the monolith was not answering its phone. Commander Vex Thorndale stepped off the transport shuttle and immediately wished he had read the briefing documents. Or any documents. Maybe a pamphlet. His assistant, Marcus Webb, followed behind him, looking like he had not slept in 3 days, which was accurate because he had not slept in 3 days. "Remind me why we took this job," Marcus asked, adjusting his datapad and nearly dropping it. "Because Admiral Kowalski said if we did not volunteer, he would volunteer us anyway," Vex replied cheerfully. "And because we are, and I quote, the only diplomatic team chaotic enough to handle first contact with unresponsive alien artifacts." That was not a compliment. I choose to take it as one. They entered the council chamber, a massive spherical room designed to accommodate every major species in the galactic community, which meant the temperature was uncomfortably warm, the gravity was slightly too heavy, and the air smelled like a combination of ozone, sulfur, and something Vex suspected was insectoid pheromones. Ambassador Prex of the Quilarian Collective was already talking. Prex was always talking. The Quilarians looked like someone had crossed an otter with a lizard and given it a superiority complex. Prex wore the traditional 7-layered diplomatic robes and had that particular expression of someone explaining something to a child who they assumed was very, very stupid. "And so you see," Prex was saying to a holographic display of the monolith, as if the monolith could hear him here, which it definitely could not, "we have attempted every known form of communication. Quantum entanglement networks, gravitational wave modulation, even psionic projection from the mindweavers of Thalos Prime." "Did that work?" Vex interrupted. Prex turned slowly, his robes swishing dramatically. "Excuse me?" "The psionic thing. Did it work?" "Obviously not, or we would not have summoned you here." Prex somehow made the word "you" sound like an insult. Beside Prex stood Representative Buzz, a Clicktar who looked exactly like a praying mantis that had gone to law school. Buzz clicked his mandibles nervously. "We are simply exploring all options. The monolith has proven resistant to all conventional and unconventional approaches." "Resistant implies it is fighting back," Marcus observed. "Sounds more like it is ignoring you." Buzz's antennae twitched. An astute observation. The third member of the welcoming committee was Radiance of Dawn, a Lumine scholar who existed as a vaguely humanoid shape made of crystalline structures and light. Radiance glowed softly, pulsing in what Vex assumed was either deep thought or profound frustration. Possibly both. "We have compiled our research," Radiance said, their voice like wind chimes in a minor key. 47 years of attempts, methodologies, and results. Or rather, lack of results. "How long is this report?" Vex asked. 3,247 pages. Marcus made a small whimpering sound. "Excellent," Vex said with absolutely no intention of reading it. "We will get right on that, but first, quick question. What exactly happens when you try to communicate with this thing?" "Nothing," all 3 aliens said simultaneously. "Nothing at all." "Complete silence," Prex confirmed. "We have sent greetings in every known language. We have transmitted mathematical proofs. The Zenthari even attempted interpretive dance. Vex blinked. I am sorry, interpretive dance. They are a very expressive species, and the Monolith responded to none of this. Correct. Vex looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at Vex. They had that particular expression of two humans who were beginning to suspect everyone else was overthinking things, but who also knew that saying so out loud would start an intergalactic incident. Right, Vex said. So, just to be clear, in 47 years nobody has gotten so much as a peep out of this thing. Your grasp of the situation is adequate, Prex said, which was Quillarian for yes. Great, we will take a crack at it. You understand the stakes? Radiance asked. The Kepler Reach represents the largest concentration of strategic resources discovered in 17 centuries. The species that gains access will reshape the galactic economy. No pressure, then, Marcus muttered. Vex grinned. We work best under pressure. That was a lie, but it sounded good. The observation deck overlooking the Monolith was crowded with experts, scientists, linguists, and what Vex suspected were just curious bureaucrats who had nothing better to do. The Monolith itself hung in space like a cosmic gravestone, perfectly still, perfectly silent, and perfectly indifferent to the small army of vessels surrounding it. This is our current approach, Prex announced, gesturing to a holographic display that showed a dizzying array of sensor beams, communication lasers, and what appeared to be a giant holographic projection of mathematical symbols. We are transmitting on all known frequencies simultaneously. Has that worked? Vex asked. Define worked. Has the Monolith responded in any way whatsoever? No. Then it has not worked. Prex's scales rippled with annoyance. Communication is a complex endeavor, Commander. We cannot simply expect immediate results from a civilization that may operate on entirely different conceptual frameworks. You have been trying for 47 years. These things take time. Marcus was reviewing the logs on his datapad, his expression growing increasingly bewildered. According to this, you have tried binary code, prime number sequences, the complete works of galactic standard literature, and something called Project Resonance that involved 300 singing crystals. The harmonic convergence of Solarix 4 are renowned for their acoustic abilities, Radiance said defensively. I am sure they are lovely, Marcus said. Did the Monolith care? Radiance dimmed slightly. No. A Zenthari representative, a flowing blob of gelatinous material named Globulox, oozed forward. Perhaps Commander Thorndale would like to observe our latest attempt. We have developed a new psionic amplifier that projects thought forms directly into the quantum field. That sounds expensive, Vex said. Extraordinarily. Let me guess. It did not work either. Globulox quivered, which was their equivalent of a sigh. The Monolith remains unresponsive. Vex walked to the viewport and stared at the massive structure. It really was remarkably simple. Just a big black rectangle. No obvious doors, no windows, no welcome mat. Behind him, the various species continued arguing about theoretical approaches, each more elaborate than the last. Buzz was explaining something about tachyon-based messaging. A small furry creature called a puffball was suggesting they try appealing to the Monolith's emotions, assuming it had any. Someone else proposed building a larger monolith next to it to establish dominance. Has anyone, Vex said slowly, tried just knocking? The room went silent. Prex turned very slowly. Knocking. Yeah, knock knock, hello, anybody home? Commander, we are dealing with a structure of immense technological sophistication. It exists in a state of quantum flux that our best scientists barely understand. Its surface is composed of exotic matter that should not exist according to our current understanding of physics, and you are suggesting we knock. I mean, yeah. Have you tried it? We have done far more sophisticated things. That is not an answer. Marcus was scrolling through the logs again, his face a mixture of disbelief and vindication. Vex. He is right. According to these records, nobody has tried basic audio communication. I mean, literally speaking to it. They have done quantum entanglement and gravitational waves and psychic projections, but nobody actually flew up and said hello. The assembled experts looked at each other with the particular expression of people who had just realized they might have overlooked something incredibly obvious, and were now trying to figure out whose fault it was. "That is absurd," Prex said. "Audio communication is primitive. The monolith clearly operates on a higher dimensional plane." "Or," Vex said, "it operates on a basic plane and you have all been overthinking this for half a century." "Impossible." "Is it, though?" Radiance pulsed brightly. "Commander Thorndale, I have personally authored 17 research papers on trans-dimensional communication theory. I assure you that simple audio waves would be insufficient to bridge the gap between our reality and whatever consciousness inhabits that structure." Vex shrugged. "Maybe, but you know what costs nothing to try? Knocking." "This is a waste of time," Prex declared. "You have had 47 years of wasting time," Marcus pointed out. "What is one more attempt?" A small skirmish of arguments broke out. The Clicktar insisted on proper protocols. The Quillarians claimed humanity was embarrassing them. The Lumini suggested they run simulations first. Globulox just oozed uncertainly in the corner. Vex waited for the noise to die down, then pulled out a data chip. "According to Treaty Article 7, Section 12, Subsection D, every member species of the Galactic Council is entitled to one uninterrupted attempt at first contact with unidentified objects of significance. We are claiming that right." Prex's scales went from green to an angry orange. "You cannot be serious. Deadly serious. So unless you want to violate treaty law, you will let us try." Buzz clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "He is correct. The treaty is clear." "This is madness," Prex hissed. "This is humanity," Vex corrected. "Marcus, how long will it take to rig up a basic speaker system?" Marcus was already pulling tools from his bag. "Give me 20 minutes. "Make it 15. I am impatient." As they left the observation deck, Vex could hear Prex muttering about primitive species and cosmic embarrassments. Radiance was recalculating probability matrices. Buzz was filling out paperwork, because someone always had to fill out paperwork. And the monolith, as always, said nothing at all, but that Vex thought was about to change. Marcus sat in the shuttle bay, surrounded by wires, speakers, and the kind of improvised engineering that made safety inspectors cry. Vex stood nearby, reviewing their approach, which mostly consisted of wing it and see what happens. "This is either going to be brilliant, or we are going to look like complete idiots," Marcus said, soldering two connections together. "Why not both?" Vex replied. The shuttle they were prepping was a standard diplomatic vessel, unarmed and unimpressive. Vex had requested something simple. The Council had offered him a state-of-the-art communication ship with 17 different translation matrices and enough processing power to simulate entire civilizations. Vex had declined, too complicated. Give him something with a speaker and a microphone and he was happy. Ambassador Prex appeared at the bay entrance, looking like he had swallowed something unpleasant. "Commander, I must formally protest this course of action." "Protest noted," Vex said without looking up. "You are about to embarrass not only humanity but the entire Galactic Council. We are pretty good at embarrassing ourselves. We will survive." "This is not a joke." Vex finally turned to face him. "Ambassador, let me ask you something. How did you learn about the monolith?" Prex blinked. "I beg your pardon?" "When the monolith first appeared, how did your people approach it?" "We sent our finest research vessels. We analyzed its composition, studied its energy signatures, attempted communication through every known scientific principle. And it ignored us." "Right, and then what?" "We consulted with other species, formed committees, developed theories." "Did you ever just try asking it nicely?" Prex's scales rippled. "That is a gross oversimplification." "Maybe. But humor me. In all your fancy research and committee meetings, did anyone ever approach the monolith like it was, I do not know, a person?" "It is not a person. It is an artificial construct. So are robots, and I say please and thank you to my navigation computer." "That is absurd." Vex shrugged. "My navigation computer works great, never crashes on me. Meanwhile, your super-sophisticated approach has gotten you exactly nowhere for 47 years. Marcus finished the last connection and powered up the system. A simple speaker crackled to life, playing a test tone. "We are good to go." "See?" Vex said. "Simple." Prex looked like he wanted to argue further, but decided it was not worth the effort. "On your head be it, Commander." "Usually is." As Prex left, radiance floated into the bay, their crystalline structure refracting the harsh shuttle lights. "Commander Thorndale, a word?" "Sure. I have been observing your species for some time. You are relatively new to galactic society, yet you approach problems with a certain reckless confidence that is both admirable and terrifying." "Thank you. Where does this confidence come from? What makes you think you will succeed where we have failed?" Vex leaned against the shuttle, thinking. "You want the honest answer?" "Always. We are used to things not working. Back on Earth, we have got ancient technology held together with duct tape and hope. Colony ships from the early expansion era that should have fallen apart centuries ago, but are still running because some engineer figured out you have to kick the engine at just the right angle. We have learned that sometimes the most advanced solution is not the best solution. Sometimes you just have to try the dumb thing. And if the dumb thing fails, then we try a different dumb thing. But here is the thing, Radiance. You and the Council have spent half a century being smart. You have theorized and calculated and researched. And you are no closer to an answer than when you started. So maybe, just maybe, it is time to stop being smart and start being simple." Radiance pulsed thoughtfully. "An intriguing philosophy. It is gotten us this far." Marcus climbed into the shuttle, running final checks. "Vex, we are ready when you are." Vex pushed off from the wall and headed for the pilot's seat. "Radiance, you want to place any bets on whether this works?" "Lumini do not gamble. Boring. However, I do hope you succeed. The galaxy could use more simple solutions. You and me both." Vex sealed the shuttle hatch and strapped in. Through the viewport he could see the Monolith, massive and silent and completely indifferent to the small vessel preparing to approach it. Around them, dozens of observation ships held position, crews watching and waiting to see if the humans would succeed or fail spectacularly. "Marcus, you ready?" "Define ready." "Good enough. Let us go knock on some doors." The shuttle detached from the bay and glided toward the Monolith. Vex kept the approach slow and steady, no sudden movements, nothing that might be interpreted as aggressive, just a simple, peaceful approach. Like visiting a neighbor. Behind them, every sensor in the fleet was pointed at the Monolith, recording everything. Scientists were analyzing in real time. Linguists were preparing to decode any possible response. The Council was probably having simultaneous heart attacks, and the Monolith, as always, did absolutely nothing. "Approaching optimal range," Marcus said. "We are now closer than any vessel has gotten in the past decade. Anyone try to stop us?" "Prex is screaming over the comm, but I muted him." "Good call." They drifted closer. The Monolith filled the viewport now, an impossible wall of black that seemed to absorb all light. No detail, no texture, nothing. Just empty, perfect blackness. Vex brought the shuttle to a stop about 50 meters from the surface. Close enough to be heard, far enough to run if things went wrong. He powered up Marcus's improvised speaker system and tapped the microphone. "Testing, 1, 2, 3. Nothing. Marcus pulled up a simple audio file on his datapad. 3 knocks, a pause, then 2 more knocks. The universal door knock. Simple, clear, unmistakable. "You want to do the honors?" Marcus asked. "Why not?" Vex activated the speaker. Knock, 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 pause, knock, knock. The sound transmitted through space via the speaker system, basic audio waves bouncing off the Monolith's surface. Primitive, simple. Exactly the kind of thing a civilization with quantum communicators would have forgotten existed. They waited, and nothing happened. "Well," Marcus said after a minute, "that was anticlimactic." Over the comm, Prex's voice came through triumphant. "As I predicted, a complete waste of time. Now if you will return to the observation deck, we can resume proper scientific inquiry." Vex stared at the Monolith. Something felt wrong. Not about the Monolith itself, but about the situation, 47 years of silence, thousands of attempts, every sophisticated method known to galactic science. And nothing. What were they missing? Then it hit him. Marcus, in all the logs you read, where did people try to communicate? What do you mean? I mean physically. Where did they position their ships? Marcus pulled up the historical data. Looks like always from this side, the side facing the Council's observation post. The front door. I guess? Vex grinned. How much you want to bet this thing has a back door? Oh, come on. No, seriously, think about it. You are a super advanced alien civilization. You build a mysterious test. Do you make it obvious, or do you make people work for it? That is the dumbest theory I have ever heard. Perfect, let us try it. Vex piloted the shuttle around the monolith, circling its massive bulk. The structure was even more impressive from this angle, stretching into the darkness like a slice of nothing given form. As they rounded what Vex arbitrarily decided was the corner, the observation fleet disappeared from view. They were alone now. Just them and the monolith. Vex positioned the shuttle on what he decided was the back side, purely on vibes and hope. He powered up the speaker again. Knock, 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 pause, knock, knock, still nothing. All right, Vex said to the empty void. Look, I do not know if anyone is in there, but if there is, we are sorry for bothering you. We just wanted to say hello and maybe ask if we could get access to the stuff behind you. You know, politely. Because apparently everyone else forgot that was an option. So, hello in there. Anyone home? For a moment, nothing happened. Then the monolith rumbled. It was a deep, bass sound that Vex felt more than heard, vibrating through the shuttle hull and into his bones. Lights appeared on the surface, intricate patterns that had not existed seconds before, flowing across the black material like circuit diagrams made of starlight. Marcus grabbed his seat. Vex, what did you do? I have no idea, but I think we should take notes. The patterns coalesced into a single point directly in front of their shuttle. And then, from speakers that definitely had not been there before, a voice emerged. It was surprisingly normal, deep, male-sounding, with the particular tone of someone who had been waiting a very long time for someone to use basic manners. Finally, the voice said. Do you have any idea how long I have been waiting for someone with basic manners? Vex and Marcus stared at each other. Did that just... Marcus started. Yeah, Vex finished. The monolith. Yeah. Is talking to us. Appears so. Over the comm, dead silence from the observation fleet. Vex could imagine Prex's face. It was probably worth the entire trip. Hello? The voice said again. You still there? Please tell me you did not just knock and run. That would be rude. Vex found his voice. Yes. We are still here. This is Commander Vex Thorndale of the human delegation. We were just, trying to make contact. And you succeeded. Congratulations. You are the first ones in 47 years to figure out the secret. Which was? Knocking, the voice said, sounding amused. And saying hello. You would be surprised how many civilizations forget that part. Marcus leaned toward the microphone. So, just to be clear, all those years of quantum communication and mathematical proofs. Annoying, deeply annoying. You ever have someone come to your house and instead of knocking, they shine lasers in your windows and chant prime numbers at 3 in the morning? That is what the last 47 years have been like for me. Vex could not help it. He laughed. I am sorry, Vex said. That does sound terrible. You have no idea. Although the interpretive dance was kind of entertaining, I will give them that. The Zenthari will be thrilled to hear it. Do not tell them. They will start doing it again. And just like that, Vex found himself having a conversation with the most mysterious object in known space, while the entire Galactic Council listened in stunned silence. Sometimes, he thought, the best approach really was just knocking on the door. So, Vex said, settling into his seat like he was chatting with an old friend rather than an ancient alien intelligence. You have a name, or should we just keep calling you the Monolith? I have had many names, the voice replied, but for your purposes, you can call me Walter. Marcus blinked. Walter. I picked it up from your broadcasts. Earth television, circa 1970s. I liked the sound of it. Very dignified. Walter the Cosmic Gatekeeper, Vex said, has a nice ring to it. I thought so. Now before we continue, I have a question for you. Shoot. Why did you knock? Vex shrugged, even though he was not sure if Walter could see him. Seemed polite. You are blocking the door, so to speak. Felt like we should ask before trying to barge in. And the others, the 47 years of quantum noise and psychic screaming. Well, we are not them. Clearly. There was a sound like a sigh, which was impressive for something that probably did not have lungs. You want to know something funny? The civilization that built me, my creators, they were a lot like you. Straightforward, practical. They hated overcomplication. Sounds like my kind of people. They were testing for something specific. Not intelligence, not technological advancement. Every species gets to those eventually. No, they wanted to find civilizations that remembered basic courtesy, common sense, the ability to try simple solutions before jumping to complex ones. Marcus was frantically taking notes. So, the monolith? Sorry, you are a test? More like a filter. The resources in the Kepler Reach are significant. My creators wanted them to go to species that would not immediately overcomplicate their use. Species that understood that sometimes the best tool is the simplest one. And we passed by knocking, Vex said, and by being polite about it. You asked, you said hello, you apologized for bothering me, that matters. Over the comm, Prex's voice crackled through. This is Ambassador Prex of the Quilarian Collective. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I demand equal access. Walter's voice cut him off, suddenly colder. You demand? Silence. Let me tell you something, Ambassador. I have been listening to your demands for 47 years, your committees, your protocols, your endless theorizing. Not once did you say please, not once did you knock. You assumed you deserved access simply because you were here first. We were attempting proper scientific communication, Prex protested. You were showing off. There is a difference. Vex was grinning so hard his face hurt. Marcus was trying very hard not to laugh. Commander Thorndale, Walter continued, his voice warm again. You and your assistant demonstrated something the Council forgot. You treated me like a person, not a puzzle. That earns you first access rights to the Kepler Reach. Just like that? Marcus asked. Just like that. Although I do have some conditions. Hit us. First, the resources are to be shared, not hoarded. My creators believed in cooperation, not monopolization. Fair. In second, every species that wants access has to do what you did. Knock, say hello, be polite. No more quantum screaming. I can get behind that. And third, you have to visit me occasionally. It gets boring out here. I would appreciate someone to talk to who does not immediately start explaining their research papers. Vex laughed. Deal, though I have to warn you, I am not great at small talk. You knocked on my door and called me Walter. You are already better than 99% of the galaxy. Marcus was reading something on his datapad, his expression shifting from amused to thoughtful. Walter, if you do not mind me asking, what happened to your creators? A long pause. They moved on, Walter said quietly. Transcended, some might say. They left me here to guide younger species, to test for the qualities they valued. I am all that remains of them. That sounds lonely. It is, which is why I am genuinely happy you showed up. The Quilarians are brilliant but exhausting. The Lumini are fascinating but incomprehensible. The Clictar fill out too many forms, but you just knocked. Do you know how rare that is? Apparently very. The patterns on the monolith's surface shifted, forming what might have been a smile if geometric light could smile. I am opening the gate now. You will find coordinates for the initial resource sites in your navigation computer. Use them wisely. We will do our best. I know you will. That is why you are getting them. Behind the monolith, space itself seemed to tear open, revealing a shimmering gateway that led into the Kepler Reach. Through the opening, Vex could see nebulae of impossible colors, stellar formations that should not exist, and the faint glimmer of countless resource-rich worlds waiting to be explored. Holy hell, Marcus whispered. Yeah, Vex agreed. Commander, Walter said. One more thing. What is up? Thank you for knocking. It meant more than you know. Any time, Walter, any time. As they piloted the shuttle back toward the observation fleet, the comm exploded with voices, Prex demanding explanations, Buzz asking about legal implications. Radiance calculating the philosophical ramifications, Globulox just oozing confused questions into the channel. Vex muted them all. "You realize we just rewrote First Contact Protocol for the entire galaxy," Marcus said. "Yep. And we did it by knocking." "Yep. They are never going to let us live this down." "Probably not." Marcus leaned back in his seat, exhausted and exhilarated. "You know what the worst part is? Prex is going to spend the next decade trying to explain why they did not think of it first." "Good. Let him." They docked with the observation ship to find the entire council waiting, expressions ranging from shock to outrage to grudging respect. Prex looked like he had swallowed a lemon whole. Radiance was pulsing erratically. Buzz was clicking his mandibles so fast it sounded like applause. Ambassador Kovar of the Terran Union was there too, having arrived on a fast ship to witness the results. She was grinning. "Commander Thorndale," she said formally, though her eyes were dancing. "I understand you have successfully established communication with the celestial monolith. We had a nice chat, and gained humanity-first access to the Kepler Reach. Walter was very generous." "Walter?" "Long story." Prex stepped forward, scales still doing that angry orange thing. "On behalf of the Council, I must protest the unilateral—" "Walter said you have to knock," Vex interrupted. "I beg your pardon?" "If you want access, you have to do what we did. Approach politely, knock, say hello, and do not be a jerk about it. His rules, not mine." "That is preposterous." "Take it up with him. He's listening." As if on cue, Walter's voice boomed through every speaker in the observation deck. "Ambassador Prex, I can hear you, and I meant what I said. You want access, you ask nicely. Otherwise, you can spend another 47 years with your quantum theories." Prex looked like he wanted to argue, realized he was arguing with an omnipotent alien intelligence, and decided silence was the better part of valor. "That is what I thought," Walter said cheerfully. Vex caught Marcus's eye. They both tried very hard not to laugh and failed miserably. "Dismissed," Ambassador Kovar said, barely containing her own amusement. "I believe Commander Thorndale and Mr. Webb have earned some rest." As they left the observation deck, Vex heard Radiance speaking to the other council members. "Perhaps we should reconsider our approach to first contact scenarios. There may be wisdom in simplicity that we have overlooked." "About time someone said it," Vex muttered. Marcus looked at him. "What now?" "Now. We filed the shortest mission report in diplomatic history." "Which is?" "We knocked. It worked. You are welcome." "They are going to want more detail than that." "Then they can ask Walter. I am going to take a nap." Behind them, through the viewport, the monolith stood silent once more. But Vex knew Walter was still there, still listening, still waiting for the next species to figure out that sometimes the answer was as simple as knocking on the door and saying hello. And somewhere in the vastness of space, an ancient intelligence smiled at the thought of a human who treated him like a person instead of a puzzle. It was, Walter thought, about damn time. The galactic news networks exploded within hours. The headline, "Humanity Solves 47-Year Mystery by Knocking," appeared in every known language, and several unknown ones. Opinion pieces ranged from praising human ingenuity to claiming it was all luck. Conspiracy theorists insisted the humans had cheated somehow. A small but vocal group claimed the monolith was clearly malfunctioning and needed to be reset. Walter found this hilarious. 3 days after the initial contact, Vex returned to the monolith alone. Not because the Council demanded it, not because humanity needed more resources, but because he had promised Walter he would visit, and Vex kept his promises. He brought coffee. "I do not have a mouth," Walter pointed out as Vex floated outside the shuttle with a thermal mug. "It is the thought that counts." "Fair point. Pull up a chair. Or, float there. Same difference." Vex activated the magnetic boots and stood on the monolith's surface, which felt deeply strange. He was standing on an ancient alien construct that had baffled the galaxy's greatest minds, drinking coffee and watching stars. So, Walter said conversationally, how is it going down there with the council? About as well as you would expect. Prex is demanding investigations. The Lumini want to run tests on our neural patterns to understand how we solved it. The Clicktar are writing new treaties. And the humans? Mostly confused about why everyone else did not try knocking sooner. Walter laughed, a sound like thunder rolling across mountains. You people are refreshing, you know that? We get that sometimes, usually right before we accidentally start diplomatic incidents. Tell me something. How does your species approach problems? I have been watching your broadcasts, reading your histories. You are chaos incarnate, but somehow it works. Vex thought about it, sipping his coffee. We try stuff. If it does not work, we try something else. We do not have the luxury of perfect theory. Back when we were stuck on Earth, we built spaceships before we fully understood the physics. We terraformed Mars while still arguing about the best methods. We are a species that figures things out by doing them, not thinking about doing them. Your technology must be a nightmare. You have no idea. Half our colony ships are running on duct tape and prayer, but they run. And that is why you knocked. Yeah, I saw this big mysterious thing and I thought, what is the simplest thing we have not tried? And nobody had tried just talking to it like a person. My creators would have loved you, Walter said softly. Tell me about them. Pause. Then the patterns on Walter's surface shifted, forming images. Creatures that looked vaguely humanoid, but with too many joints, skin that shimmered like oil on water, eyes that saw in spectrums humans could not imagine. They were called the Architects, Walter said. Not their real name. That is untranslatable. But it fits. They built things. Not just structures, but concepts. They engineered societies, philosophies, entire approaches to existence. Sounds complicated. They were. But they understood something fundamental. Complexity should serve simplicity, not replace it. All their grand designs had simple cores. They built me as a test for that principle. To filter out species that overcomplicate things. Exactly. They believed that truly advanced civilizations cycle back to simplicity. Young species are simple because they do not know better. Middle-aged species are complex because they are showing off. Mature species are simple again because they have learned what matters. Vex finished his coffee, considering this. So where does that put humanity? You are weird, Walter said bluntly. You are simultaneously young and mature. You have advanced technology but primitive instincts. You theorize constantly but trust your gut. You are everything and nothing my creators expected. Is that good or bad? Good. Definitely good. It means you might avoid the trap most species fall into. Which is? Thinking that more complex equals more correct. Most civilizations I have met reach a point where they cannot solve simple problems because they have forgotten how to think simply. They have committees to form committees, theories about theories, protocols for protocols. They lose sight of the fact that sometimes the answer is just knocking on the door. Vex looked out at the stars. So what happens now? Now you share the Kepler reach. Responsibly, I hope. We will try. And the Council learns a valuable lesson about humility. That one might take longer. Walter's laughter rumbled through the void. I have time. I have been here for 17,000 years. I can wait for them to figure it out. 17,000 years? Seriously? Give or take a few centuries. I stopped counting after the first millennium. Too depressing. And you have been alone this whole time? Mostly. Ships come and go. Species attempt contact, fail, leave. I watch civilizations rise and fall. It is educational but lonely. Vex made a decision. How about this? I will put together a rotation. Different humans come visit you, say hello, chat about stuff. Keep you company. You would do that? Why not? You are a person. People should not be alone if they do not want to be. Another pause. When Walter spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. You have no idea what that means to me. Sure I do. I have been on long-haul colony ships. Isolation sucks. Commander Thorndale? Yeah? My creators chose well when they built me, but I think they would be glad to know I met you. The feeling is mutual, Walter. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, a human and an ancient intelligence, watching the galaxy turn. Eventually, Vex had to return to the observation fleet. Duties, responsibilities, the usual bureaucratic nonsense. But before he left, he knocked on Walter's surface one more time. "See you soon," Vex said. "Looking forward to it," Walter replied. As Vex piloted back, he received a message from Ambassador Kovar. The Council had officially adopted the Thorndale Protocol for first contact situations. Step 1, try simple communication. Step 2, be polite. Step 3, do not assume complexity equals correctness. It was a small thing in the grand scheme of galactic politics, but it was a start, and sometimes, Vex reflected, that is all you needed. A simple start, a knock on the door, a hello to someone who had been waiting far too long for basic courtesy. The Kepler Reach opened up new possibilities for every species in the Council. Rare minerals flowed into galactic trade. New technologies emerged from the exotic matter found within. Entire economic systems restructured around the sudden abundance. But the real change was quieter. Species began approaching problems differently. When faced with impossible challenges, they tried simple solutions first. Committees became smaller. Protocols became clearer. Communication improved. It was not perfect. The galaxy was still chaotic, still full of competing interests and conflicting agendas. But it was better. And it all started because a human knocked on a door and said hello. Walter watched it all unfold, no longer alone, no longer ignored. Human visitors came regularly, each with their own stories and questions. Some brought coffee, some brought music. One brought an entire chess set and taught Walter the game, which led to 300-year matches that neither wanted to end. The Quillarians eventually swallowed their pride and approached politely. Walter granted them access, though he never let Prex forget about the 47 years of quantum screaming. The Luminae sent scholars who learned to communicate in prose instead of equations. The Clictar discovered that sometimes fewer forms were better than more. And through it all, Walter kept one particular memory close. The moment a human shuttle approached, knocked 3 times, paused, knocked twice more, and then said hello like it was the most natural thing in the universe. Sometimes, the most advanced civilizations were the ones that remembered how to be simple. Sometimes, the best solution was just knocking on the door, and sometimes, all anyone really needed was for someone to treat them like a person instead of a puzzle. Walter understood that now, thanks to a human named Vex, who brought coffee to a cosmic intelligence and asked about his day. It was, he thought, a pretty good arrangement. Part 6, Aftermath and Lessons. 6 months after the Monolith incident, as it came to be called, Commander Vex Thorndale found himself in the deeply uncomfortable position of being famous. He hated it. There were interviews, lectures, requests for speaking engagements at prestigious galactic universities. Someone tried to name a minor asteroid after him, and Zenthari composer wrote an interpretive dance opera about the historic knock. It was 7 hours long. Vex did not attend. "You could embrace it," Marcus suggested over breakfast in the station cafeteria. He looked better now, having slept more than 3 hours in a row for the first time in months. "I could also jump out an airlock," Vex replied. "Similar appeal." "The media loves you." "The media can love someone else." Marcus scrolled through his datapad. "You have been invited to speak at the Council of Diplomatic Sciences." Declined. "The Luminae Institute of Advanced Communication." Hard pass. "The Quillarian Academy of Theoretical Excellence." Vex snorted coffee through his nose. "Absolutely not. Prex would probably try to poison me. He is actually being civil now, ever since Walter called him out in front of the entire galaxy. Civil for Prex still means condescending. I will pass." Ambassador Kovar approached their table, looking far too pleased with herself. "Commander, Mr. Webb, lovely morning." "What do you want?" Vex asked suspiciously. So hostile. "I simply wanted to inform you that the Thorndale Protocol has been officially adopted by 73 member species. Initial reports show a 27% improvement in first contact success rates." "That is great. Can I go back to obscurity now?" "Absolutely not. You are a diplomatic asset." I am a guy who knocked on a door. You are the guy who solved a 47-year mystery in 15 minutes. There is a difference. Marcus was trying not to laugh. Sir, she has a point. You are fired. You cannot fire me. I am already assigned to your next mission. Vex's eyes narrowed. What next mission? Kovar's smile widened. There is a situation developing in the outer reaches. An ancient alien facility that has been broadcasting mathematical sequences for 200 years. Several species have attempted contact. None have succeeded. No. The Council specifically requested you. Still, no. They are willing to grant humanity additional resource allocation rights. I am listening. There it is, Marcus muttered. Kovar transmitted the briefing data to Vex's datapad. He skimmed it, his expression shifting from annoyed to intrigued despite himself. An ancient facility, incomprehensible broadcasts, dozens of failed contact attempts. It was the Monolith situation all over again. Let me guess, Vex said. They tried every complex solution known to science. Naturally. And nobody tried just talking to it. The thought apparently never occurred to them. Vex looked at Marcus. Marcus shrugged. I have got nothing better to do. Your life is sad, says the man who made friends with a cosmic gatekeeper. Walter is cool. This facility is probably just going to be annoying. Only one way to find out, Vex sighed, which was his version of agreeing. Fine, but I am doing this my way. I would expect nothing less, Kovar said. Your shuttle departs in 4 hours. As she left, Vex finished his coffee and considered his new reality. Somehow, he had become the galaxy's go-to person for talking to things that did not talk back. It was not the career path he had imagined, but it beat committee meetings. You think this one will respond to knocking too? Marcus asked. Probably not. That would be too easy. So what is the plan? Same as always. Try the simple stuff first. Be polite. See what happens. Revolutionary. Mock all you want. It works. They spent the next 4 hours preparing, which mostly meant packing coffee, loading simple communication equipment, and reviewing the unnecessarily complex briefing documents the Council had provided. 200 years of mathematical analysis, quantum communication attempts, and linguistic deconstruction. Thousands of pages. Vex read the first 3 pages, got bored, and decided to just wing it. The facility was located in a system so remote that the nearest inhabited planet was 3 weeks away by conventional drive. It hung in orbit around a dead red dwarf, a structure of impossible geometry that seemed to shift when you were not looking directly at it. The broadcasts were constant, mathematical sequences in Base 17 that repeated every 73 hours. Several observation ships floated nearby, crews from different species, all documenting the mystery. Vex recognized some of the ships from the Monolith situation. They had learned nothing. Commander Thorndale, came a familiar clicking voice over the comm. Representative Buzz. A pleasure to see you again. Likewise, Buzz. You miss me? The Council thought your presence might prove beneficial. They thought I might work more magic, you mean? That is an oversimplification, but essentially correct. Vex piloted closer to the facility. It was smaller than the Monolith, maybe the size of a large building, but it radiated the same sense of ancient purpose. The surface was covered in symbols that might have been writing or might have been decoration. Hard to tell. Any theories? Vex asked. 1743, at last count, Buzz replied. None successful. Did anyone try knocking? A pause. Several species, actually. After the Monolith incident, it became something of a trend. The facility did not respond. Huh. Interesting. Marcus pulled up the broadcast data. These mathematical sequences, they are not random. There is a pattern, but it is recursive, like it is building on itself. Could be a message, could be a test, or it could just be humming to itself. They approached the facility slowly. Vex activated the simple speaker system, the same one that had worked on Walter. Worth a shot. Hello, Vex said clearly. This is Commander Vex Thorndale. We come in peace. We mean no harm, and we would really appreciate it if you could give us a hint about what you are trying to say. Nothing. Well, That was anticlimactic, Marcus said. Vex studied the facility. The monolith had responded to knocking on the back side, not the front. Maybe this one had similar quirks, or maybe it wanted something else entirely. What if it is not ignoring us? Vex said slowly. What if it is waiting for us to speak its language? The mathematical sequences? Yeah. Walter wanted politeness and simplicity. This thing broadcasts math. Maybe it wants math back. Marcus pulled up the sequence data. We could try repeating it back, or we could try responding, like a conversation. You want to do math at an ancient alien facility? When you say it like that, it sounds dumb. Because it is dumb. Perfect. Let us do it. Marcus spent 20 minutes composing a simple mathematical response to the facility's broadcasts. Nothing complex, just basic acknowledgement. A mathematical hello. He transmitted it on the same frequency the facility was using. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the broadcast stopped. Complete silence filled the void where mathematical sequences had played for 200 years. Marcus said. Did we break it? Before Vex could respond, new symbols appeared on the facility's surface. Not the old ones, new ones, simpler, arranged in clear patterns. And then, through their speaker system, a voice emerged, not like Walter's. More alien, more distant, but understandable. Correct syntax detected. Proceeding to secondary protocol. Vex and Marcus looked at each other. Did that just... Marcus started. Yeah, Vex finished. Over the comm, Buzz was clicking excitedly. Commander, the facility is responding. What did you do? We did math at it. That is absurd. And yet here we are. The facility continued. Query, are you capable of abstract numerical reasoning? Marcus typed out a response, transmitted it. Yes, we can do abstract numerical reasoning. Acknowledged. Query, what is your purpose here? To understand you, Vex said, and maybe to learn. Another pause, then surprisingly what sounded like satisfaction. Acceptable. This unit is an educational facility. Original purpose, teach mathematical principles to developing species. Current status, lonely. Vex laughed. You too? Affirmative. 200 years of broadcasting, 0 students, beginning to question purpose. Well, we are here now. Want to teach us something? Query, are you serious? Completely. The facility's symbols shifted into what might have been excitement. Affirmative, commencing Lesson 1. The fundamental theorem of cosmic geometry. Please prepare for 3-dimensional visualizations. Marcus was already pulling up his datapad. This is going to be a long night. Worth it, though, Vex said. As the facility began its first lesson in 2 centuries, Vex reflected on how strange his career had become. First, he befriended a cosmic gatekeeper. Now he was attending math class from an ancient alien computer that just wanted someone to talk to. The galaxy, he decided, was full of lonely things waiting for someone to speak their language. Sometimes that meant knocking. Sometimes it meant math. Sometimes it just meant showing up and being willing to listen. Back at the observation fleet, Buzz was filing reports. The other species were analyzing the breakthrough. Theories were being revised, papers were being written, and somewhere, Prex was probably fuming about humans succeeding again. But Vex was not thinking about any of that. He was listening to an ancient facility explain cosmic geometry with the enthusiasm of a teacher who finally had a student. And he was realizing that maybe his new reputation was not so bad after all. If the galaxy was full of ancient intelligences, waiting for someone to treat them like people instead of puzzles, well, humanity could do that. They were pretty good at it, actually. Commander, the facility said, you are not taking notes. Marcus is taking notes. I am just listening. Acceptable. Proceed to Lesson 2. Hit us. And so, in a remote system orbiting a dead star, a human commander attended classes from an alien computer, learned mathematics that would reshape human understanding of physics, and proved once again that sometimes the best solution to an impossible problem was just being willing to try. The Thorndale Protocol expanded. Not just knock and be polite, but listen and respond in the language being used. Speak simply, but be willing to learn complexity. Treat every unknown as a potential person, not just a puzzle to be solved. It caught on. Slowly at first, then faster. First contact scenarios improved. Ancient mysteries were solved. The galaxy became a little less mysterious and a lot more talkative. And through it all, Vex kept visiting Walter, brought coffee, shared stories, taught chess. Because Walter was not just a gatekeeper or a test or a cosmic intelligence. He was a person who had been alone for far too long, and Vex was not going to let that continue. "You changed things," Walter said one day, as Vex sat on his surface drinking coffee and watching nebulae. "I just knocked on a door. You treated me like I mattered. You do matter. I know, but you are the first person to act like it." Vex finished his coffee, stood, and knocked on Walter's surface one more time. Not because he had to, not because protocol demanded it, but because that is what friends do. They knock, they say hello, they show up. "Same time next week?" Vex asked. "I will be here," Walter replied. "Not like I'm going anywhere." As Vex left, Marcus sent him a message. Another impossible situation, another ancient mystery, another species that needed someone who understood that sometimes the most advanced solution was also the simplest one. Vex smiled, set course for the next adventure, and reflected on how strange and wonderful it was that humanity had become known across the galaxy for one simple thing.